Hello and welcome back to Fate Grand Order. I'm Nuche, and I know I promised I wouldn't do just farming streams, but since I'm gonna be gone for the weekend, I figure it might be good to just do something here. And I did a few runs of this to make sure this team comp was valid. And I can assure you, aside from the filler at the end, this is not... I guess I should just explain from the beginning. Nerofest is a lotto event, which for Fate Grand Order is typically considered the end game farming event for most players. I don't go particularly hard on them, but I still like to get what rewards I can. And so, being able to farm this event as efficiently as possible is one of the main goals that everyone has, and to the point there's even spreadsheets and fan tools used to make sure any team you make can farm them properly. And as you can see, I've got a team here of my own. Now this Vritra core was never in the... if you are a Fate Grand Order player and have seen the spreadsheet for this event, you probably noticed that Vritra core was not on it. However, I have tested this and it is completely foolproof as far as I can tell. I've not found any major problems from what I can... As I said, I tested a bit before the stream started just to be sure it was good, and I did not find anything. Oh yes, you'll also notice my Castoria is now level 100 here. So, yeah. After Lost Bell 6, I decided I liked her so much, yeah, I'm just gonna toss the last 5 grails I had on her. So, for better or for worse, this is just going to be me farming the event for the entire stream. I know it's a bit unexpected, given my usual preferences here, but I figure since I'm going to be gone for the weekend, it wouldn't be a good idea for me to start a new game only for me to not be able to get onto it, because when I get back, I'll be doing my multiplayer streams, and that's not going to be any good. I also have Castoria's NP if I need the extra boost, but my Vitra's Grailed, so I'm pretty sure she can handle this clean, even on the lowest possible rolls. Yeah, it's a bit over 250 each. That's more than enough for the one shot there. Alright, so I just need to make sure I keep the double Castoria here, and Vritra should be able to handle everything. I might turn the sound effects down a bit, since, yeah, it's fine. I don't need them all up since we're not doing the story or anything where you want to hear the voice acting or whatever. That might still be a little loud. I guess that's fine. I forgot how loud Vitra's effects were. Here we are. Vritra gets forgotten since she's a main pool Lancer when there's a ton of really good Lancers, period, but there's nothing to complain about, I'd say. Good survival, good damage, even has a Star Gatherer in case you need to use basic attacks. Although that's not the case here, obviously. And yeah, Oberon is definitely key to making this whole system work. guess for things to talk about. I guess after letting Lost Belt 6 stew a bit in my brain, I still have a pretty high opinion of it. Let's see here. I guess in retrospect, I should have realized that a lot of the general opinion of each of the Tamlin and Morgan would have been colored by the fan base. They like to... Well, the game itself is guilty of this sometimes. The fan base is especially a lot more prone to taking single personality traits and making that the entire character. Still, I kind of expected them to just be minions of Morgan, but no, they all pretty much had a big arc to them. The only one I'd say was a bit disappointing was Balboa Sith, and that's less that I... And it's not that I dislike her or anything, it's more... They kind of just rushed her development right there at the end of Part 2, and there was already a lot going on with Morgan and such at the time, so... I guess it was a bit hard to appreciate compared to the others, where the pacing was a lot better. On the note, I will say Morgan herself worked rather well as a villain. It's easy to empathize with her after, you know, seeing how mistreated she was, but at the same time, she was still, you know, evil. Well, I mean, her goal explicitly was they're going to end the world if we didn't stop her, so... I just realized my Bard Castoria is also level 100. Guess I'm not the only one who thought she had a really good arc in Lost Belt 6 there. Definitely end up coming out of it with a higher opinion of Castoria of all people, which kind of surprised me. I thought I'd be among the Morgan fans. And I do like Morgan, don't get me wrong. It's just, Castoria felt like she had a much bigger arc there. Fair. Castoria had a good amount of personality, too. I mean, the first thing she says to Morgan when they finally meet at the end of Part 2 is basically, you know, if you'd just done your damn job, I wouldn't even need to be here right now. Although I can understand Morgan's hesitation to do her damn job, quote-unquote, since, well, even Castoria herself was kind of hesitant to do it. Still. As for my Vritra here, obviously she is a Grail one. In fact, she's actually receiving my gold foes as we speak. She's going to be getting all of them, but, well, it's going to be a while before that before she finishes maxing them out, so... Yeah. I'm kind of surprised myself. I genuinely wasn't expecting to roll for her when Karna's Christmas event rolled around, but here I am. Then I ended up liking her so much, I decided, you know what, I need her at least NP2 if I want her to be better than the welfare option there, so when Valentine's rolled around where all main pool servants get a rotation, well, all main pool female servants get a rotation, I waited until Vritra's and then made sure that it got her when she was on rate up, so... And thus, that's how we now have my NP2 Vritra here. I seem to favor knight classes a lot in this game. Oh, and I guess for anyone who's wondering about my first round team, that was Saber, Hakosai, Castoria, Oberon, and a borrowed AoE archer for the final round. I believe it was usually Gilgamesh or Ishtar, because, well, those are the good ones. I did experiment, those are the best ones for it, I guess. I did experiment a bit with, Summer Jeanne d'Arc, but she just didn't hit the damage threshold I needed unless she was really high in P level. Unfortunate. So I just stuck to the Buster ones, I guess. But yeah, probably seriously gonna have to consider grailing Saber Kosai simply because, well, even in Lost Belt 6 and Hienkyo, I end up using her quite a bit. She's been... Actually, I believe I even used her a good bit in Olympus on stream here, so... She's probably earned at least level 90 through her service alone. Yeah, my Grail decisions are not just based on waifu or meta, it's... How do I word this? It's how they feel to use. They have to be genuinely fun servants to use in order for me to grail them. And Vritra obviously hits all of those. She has good damage, she can loop reliably, she can use her basic attacks if need be, and she has good survival options. So, yeah. Pretty much has everything I could ask for. No complaints. But yeah, Makosai's definitely been a fun one to use. I should probably experiment a bit more with Saber Karna, Santa Karna, just to see if I want to go a bit more quick, but, well, with my Grail Castoria, it seems I've definitely gone deep into the arts meta. Although I suppose I could, since I'm seriously considering Summer Scotty, just to make sure my quick team is in good shape. I guess I have to think about it, but in the general sense, it's looking like it's most likely going to be Hakosai to 90 as my next Grail project. I'm also looking at Kagatora again, since, as mentioned Lost Belt 6, I'd forgotten how genuinely great she was. The only reason I wasn't such a big fan of her is because her biggest buff, the arts one, only lasts a single turn, which is very unfortunate, since she's an art servant with a lot of hits on her NP and attack cards. That's usually all you need. Yeah, she has no battery, but I've worked with plenty of servants that don't have batteries. That's one of the perks of arts. You get a bit more leeway. Granted, I could probably make Buster work as well, but I don't have the major Buster servants, so it's whatever, I guess. And yes, I'm intentionally keeping Oberon in the first Ascension because I like how fancy he looks. Unfortunately, due to the home server being 2 years ahead of the NA server, global server, what's the one here called? I did unfortunately get spoiled on Oberon a bit early. Very unfortunate, but at the same time, it's a bit of... Alright, let me relog in here. Alright, sorry for the delay there. I have no idea why he keeps crashing to desktop like that. Might have to actually look at my tablet a bit. Oh, whatever. At least the mirror... It could even be from the mirror program I'm using to get on to display on my computer like this. That's how I'm able to stream it. Oh, whatever. I can easily go back in here. Let's see if I can get the 2 here just for the maximum. Now, what was I in the middle of saying? Yeah, I was unable to avoid the spoiler about Oberon, but I did not know the context behind it. So, while I was able to mostly keep my thoughts and stuff on Lost World 6 completely fresh, it still was able to surprise me in a few ways. And in fact, it does do a pretty good job of hinting beforehand. In fact, I actually had no idea there were actually quote-unquote secret scenes you can do if you suspect him early. I wasn't even intentionally trying to suspect, I just went with what felt natural. So yeah, I guess that shows it's a good mystery when you can figure something out a bit early. I may not go the hardest on lottos, but I certainly try to push my team as far as I can. This is effectively one of the main endgame things to do, after all. Without spoiling, there is an event at the end of the year that hopefully my Vritra will be able to perform well in. I'm not sure I exactly need the buff all allies to ensure this will work, but I kind of want to play it safe, you know? Although my Vritra is both Grailed and Gold Foed, so she probably honestly can work on her own just fine. Worst case scenario, I guess I could even CE bomb the MLB, the drop CE from last time. Yeah, I've been with this game for quite long enough that I indeed had stuff from the first Nerofest, so that was quite nice. This also means I don't have to care too much about CE drops, unless I just want more MLB ones. As I said, I don't go too hard on these, but that doesn't mean I don't put forth the effort to make sure my teams are sufficient. During the last one, I even got a lot of work done with my Jason. Like, during Skahak Fest, Jason was my main damage dealer there. He actually worked rather well, being both Gold Foed and level 100 himself, despite being a 1-star. Although I did need, truth be told, I did in fact need cards on the table. I did need to use Tammo no Mae in order to push his damage. Jason's great, love him, but his damage is, it leaves a bit to be desired. Still, once you get past that, I've been enjoying using him. Plus, his animations make me laugh. And at the end of the day, isn't that all that matters? Oh yeah, but yeah. Oh yes, I forgot to mention, while the first round was Hakosai, Castoria plugs. Hello, Raizun. Welcome to the stream. Having a bit more of a laid-back one that's just me farming the event tonight. Gonna be out for the weekend, so I figure I should probably not start the next game anytime soon. Or else it'll be a bit disappointing. Why the Eternal Slumber? That's because Oberon's skill 3 gives a huge boost to damage, and so it's balanced around penalizing you by making your servant basically completely unable to act. You also can't use one of your other servants to sacrifice them to try and get rid of them early. You just have to hope that the enemy can take them out within 3 turns, or else things get nasty. Sacrifice a unit, cracks knuckles. Leave that to me. Yeah, Chen Gong is the one who does that most of the time in this game, and he is very popular for it. I haven't used him too much myself, but he's popular for a reason. Yeah, his third skill. Oh crap, that's a Yu-Gi-Oh card. Basically it doubles the effect of NP damage buffs, so that's actually quite huge. It does apply target focus so that if you don't kill the enemy after using his third skill, they can still, the enemy will be focusing them down for a little while, hopefully removing them so you can move on, but, well, like I said, once that skill 3 is used, you're not going back. That servant cannot act for the rest of the fight, so you need to make sure you finish the fight with it, or else it's going to be a pain in the ass. Here we go.
天よ、天元の鱗に閉ざされる。地、体色があると飲まれる地。さすらシュレーした。鐘の音が聞こえる。
Excellent. Actually, probably I guess I could swap out one of the Castorias immediately if I wanted to bring in Oberon, but I don't have to use any of his skills yet, so not much reason to, I guess. I know not everyone's a fan of plug suit comps like this, but For the record, I don't know if this team comp will actually work for anyone who doesn't have a Grailed and Gold-Fold Vritra like I do. Since mine's high investment, she's stronger than I imagine most Vritras out there, since she's not exactly a popular servant. Although that's less because of any inherent flaws, and again, more just because Lancers are absolutely stacked in terms of good units. I think the Knight classes in general have it pretty good. Let's see here. Oops. Yeah, I don't need to buff anything else. I guess if you're using your own Vritra, well, I imagine NP2 or higher is needed, first of all. But I guess I could have used my own Castoria's NP there in order to give her a boost of damage if it wasn't enough, but again, mine's really high investment, so she doesn't really need it. Unfortunately, I lack the coins to bring her past 100, and plus, I just have a lot of other projects I'm looking into, so we'll have to see. Let's see here. Oh yes. Because when I arrive, I'm probably going to immediately be doing my joint stream with my buddies. I probably unfortunately won't be able to do the Vernal Winds EX stages on stream for Arknights. So if you're an Arknights fan, I apologize, but I'm probably gonna have to do those off stream. I could probably check to see if I could do them last minute, but be warned I might not have time to do them just because the event is ending next Thursday, I think. I'd have to look at it if it's the end of day Thursday or the day itself Thursday. For the record, I actually have Vritra in her second Ascension outfit. I don't know why, I just kind of like that one best. Have somewhere else to be, an event popped up. Ah. Alright, well, thanks for stopping by, Raizun. Hope you have a good time. Say that? Bill Adventure going on a quest to go to that area. Hey, whatever motivates you. There's no event pop-up. Oh, yeah. Well, gotta do what you gotta do. It's a shame to lose all the Mystic Code experience, but... really, is this the best I can do? Oh. Oh, dang, that person was unlucky. They didn't... No Oberon either implies they probably didn't get another one. I'm guessing either Koyanskaya, Morgan, or Milasune. Probably Koyanskaya. Oh well. I'll just borrow their Castoria and hope that maybe that'll make them feel better. I don't know. I'm just trying to... I don't even know how to react to that, if we're honest. The only reason I was able to get them here is I made sure to have enough to hit pity to guarantee they'd come home, even if it'd have to be kicking and screaming. And I must say, not all of them came home. Like, for NP2, Vritra, I actually did almost have to hit pity. I got very, very close, frustratingly close to the pity counter for her. So she was resisting, but she still came home in the end. Might be worth trying to go for NP3 next Valentine's, but I'll have to think about it. There's a lot of stuff coming up. Not sure how much I want to talk about the reveals for the home server, since that's 2 years ahead, but at the same time... How can I put this? Alright, using that one scene from Lost Belt 6 is nothing short of emotional blackmail, I swear. Good enough. It's nice that you can reliably get a decent amount of stars these days. My first round team was to have Hakosai or the Borrowed Archer crit the first enemy down. Usually only takes 2 or 3 hits. So basically as long as I'm not forced to rely on Oberon Chain and Oberon fails to crit, I usually manage to get through it. So it wasn't too RNG, because Saber, Hakosai, and Oberon together give you 40 stars. That's usually a pretty reliable amount to guarantee crits. And then I'd have Saber, Hakosai drop her NP to kill the one enemy there. And then I'd have the Archer, usually Gil or Ishtar, kill the Sabers in the final, and Berserkers in the final wave. As I said, it was a bit RNG, since it depended a lot on how the crit stars went around, and to make sure I didn't fail 80 or 90% crit rates, which did happen sometimes, mind you. I did have to use a command seal on occasion, frustratingly, but it still worked. By and large, it worked. I already used everything, right? Okay. Just wanted to play it safe, since I can't really afford Vritra to not get enough refund. Well, at least the good news is Vritra has been very helpful to me in every game she showed up in so far. I mean, Soul Hackers and the other SMT games I did, I believe she showed up there. And of course, she made a cameo in Endwalker, Final Fantasy XIV's Endwalker. So I guess it was just destiny at this point. Although on that note, if I had a nickel for every game I'd played recently where Britain was taken over by fairies, I'd have 3 nickels, which is rather amusing. I'm not sure what got everyone into the mood of let's have fairies take over Britain, but yeah, it's happening. I was definitely surprised when it showed up in Remnant 2, that's for sure, for the most recent example. And, you know, to shield my VOD of Remnant 2. Again, not sure if I actually need the attack up since my Vritra is so high investment. I just don't want to risk it. It's like I said, once you use the Eternal Sleep, once you get the Eternal Sleep, it's over for that particular servant. I don't have any other attackers in this comp. Getting some good mats out of this deal at the very least. And I absolutely have to get a Castoria specifically. I believe I've tested with other supports, but it just doesn't cut it. It must be Castoria specifically. It's not a big deal, but like I said, I figure I should probably mention that in case anyone else decides they're in the mood for a Vritra comp. Because if you want to borrow mine, by all means, just be aware that I wasn't able to make it work with anything less than double Castoria and Oberon. Go. And that should be good. I never have to face card with this comp under any circumstances that I've been able to find. So that's good. Granted, with how strong Vritra's face cards are, I think she'd be fine even if I did have to at some point. Here. Yeah, as for future summoning plans, I'm probably mostly just going to be saving for the next year or so. By and large, as nice as the upcoming ones are, I've decided I'm going to go against my original plans and not roll for the Trunk Sisters. I'm just going to stick, like I said, I'm probably just going to grail Saber Hakosai and leave her as my main, main single target Saber, I mean. I figure I don't have Lancelot, and even if I got him, he'd need to be at NP5 before he finally starts being better. And to be fair, if you have him at high NP levels, he can be better simply because he has interludes and skill upgrades that Saber Hakosai is unlikely to get, being welfare and all. But I don't even have him right now, so the amount of luck I'd need to just have him show up, it's just too much of a crapshoot versus the sure thing of Hakosai. Plus, again, I don't really have any major complaints about Hakosai. Good damage, some reliable crits. decent survivability too, so if in a longer fight, she can definitely roll with the punches. As the next game I plan to stream, it's a bit up in the air, but I got a pretty good idea which one's next. A number of the games I have played before have in fact gotten updates since that might not be too bad. I can also but there's also some VNs that came out that look very intriguing, more mysteries. How about a few here and there ask me if I want to try tapping into the horror genre a bit more, since I've done a few of those, such as Yahtzee's old adventure games there. I'm not inherently against that, I just have concerns since some of my main influences as a streamer are themselves specialists at horror content, and I don't want to end up acting like a diet version of them, especially since they're still making content. Why settle for the discount version where you can have the real thing? Sorry, I was drawing a blank on what kind of comparison to be using there, and I don't know why. It's not that hard. We are. This is a lot, yeah, this round's a lot more smooth than the last one, simply because there's absolutely no RNG behind it. Vritra seems to cleanly cut through all of them, even on her on her low rolls. So I'm not worried about it. The last round I'm actually a little iffy on, so I'll have to jury-rig something there, but by and large I should still be fine. I've got a number of Grail stuff that can work there. Blah blah blah. Yeah, sometimes I just trip over my own words. Sorry about that. As this stuff is all pretty much off the cuff, I don't exactly have a script or anything prepared. Might try planning some thoughts beforehand if I decide to do another one of my top games I streamed this year at the end of this year, but that's a ways away, so I don't need to worry about it for now. Not entirely to script up what I say, but more just to bring up points, since I do like to bring up thoughts that eluded me the first time I play. I've tried to be one of those streamers that can give their full thoughts at the end of a game once I finish it, but the more I do, the more I realize I need to let the whole thing kind of settle in my brain before I have a much more clear opinion on it, I guess. Guess is the best way to put it. I'm not someone who can finish a game and immediately have all my final thoughts in order. It has to stew in there a bit. It's not a bad thing, but it does mean I sometimes can't get the full thoughts. Well, what am I trying to say here? I guess since I do a bunch of different games, I'm aware that some who stop by only really care about the one game that I'm playing at the time, and unless there's an update in content later or whatever, or that usually means my final thoughts will end up being a later stream, either on a different game or on a recap later on, like at the end of the year one I mentioned. End of the year, top whatever list. You'd probably get more views if I called it top 10 or something, but there's way more than 10 new games each year that I play, that's for sure.
天よ、天元の鱗に閉ざされる天。地よ、退色の悪に飲まれる地。さすらシュレーした。
I guess it's a funny thing. When the 90 plus nodes like this were first introduced over on the home server, the Japanese server, or a lot of people were panicking about how it would be extremely difficult to do without whaling. And I was getting concerned, but then it finally arrived, and honestly, most of them haven't been so bad. Granted, I'm looking at the new 90 plus ones that are going to be coming later this year, and those do look significantly more frustrating, but as per usual, I need to save my opinion until I actually see them, because again, I thought 90 plus were going to be a lot more rough than they actually are. I mean, you can see here, I've been completely wrecking this 90 plus node with a servant that's not even top tier, if we're honest. B tier, she's probably B tier. Yeah, B tier. Honestly, I'd say B tier at worst, simply because I can't see her as being bad enough to be listed as mid among, unless you're talking mid among all 5 stars, period. If we're talking all servants, period, she's definitely a worthwhile investment, especially since the free-to-play ones aren't quite as impressive. But there's a lot of really good premium Lancers. I think I even mentioned that Melisune blows her out of the water, which is unfortunate, but that's how it goes. Melisune is a limited Lancer after all, and Vritra here is main pool, so it's expected which one's supposed to be more rare and exotic and valuable. But I guess on a free-to-play budget, the strongest servant is whoever you have at the highest NP level, and she's a 5-star I have at NP 2, which is extremely rare for a free-to-play, so here. So yeah, threw my lot in with Vritra. I also know there's quite a few praises of Percival, which is great and all, but Percival came out quite a while after I already had Vritra at NP2, so I had little reason to want to roll for whatever banner hit he was on. I forgot which one he was on. I know Summer Melt is also a really popular 4-star, but again, that, come on, where are the drop Cs? Here we are. I actually have really rotten luck with Summer Servants in this game for whatever reason. My Tom Mullen Lancer didn't come until, like, the second banner I actually pulled on her. And make no mistake, I spent, like, what was it? Almost 200, it was like 100 quartz. There's almost 200 quartz worth, I think, on the first time, so I did not go light on her. I believe I missed the 90th percentile of getting her there, and only got her a lot later. So it was a bit of a trial to get her. And I barely have most in general. Whatever. Well, whatever. As this is FGO, they have a 12 billion limited servants. So I try not to worry too much unless it's one I just genuinely want or genuinely need to enable the ones I like. Hence why I'm considering Summer Scotty, but skipping others like Lady Avalon. Don't get me wrong, Lady Avalon is absolutely incredible. There's a reason people really are looking forward to her, but she's not a huge must for my team. Like, a lot of people are a fan of Immortal comps and whatever. I don't see a need for that. As shown by how I handled Cheranos, I have absolutely no trouble using revive commands if necessary. I know that's kind of an iffy way to win, but at the same time... Well, I hear he's the toughest fight in the game, even in the 2 years in the future the home server is, so... I probably won't have too rough a time going forward, but I guess we'll see. And yes, this does mean the new summer servants that were just announced may be a bit more rough for me to get due to my history with them. It also took me a while for me to get my Summer Mordred copies, but of course now that she's NP3, I've made her my main rider, farming rider, just because she's that good. She was actually one of the few designed specifically to be a looper before looping was a common concept. So it was pretty nice. I grilled Summer Mordred for a reason. Here. Should be fun having Summer Hakosai grailed over to 90 at the very least. And after that, I can probably just live on welfares for a while, and only pulled on the well, Summer Scott. I still need Summer Scotty to enable my quicks. But after that, I'm going to be in full save mode in my best attempt to get the one that was just announced over in the home server, so that's going to be the big one. At least the good news is I have pretty much every major class built, and most of the others are just luxury options. Even Summer Scotty, if we're honest, I'm probably not required for if I really wanted to make do with just my base Scotty. Because as much as people claim that Summer Scotty power creeps her, that's mostly in the fact that she helps crit comps a bit more. Base Scotty still has her NP that gets buffed a bit to add attack buffs just like Historia's, so she's got a few perks still going for her that I can make do with. I guess we'll see. As I said, my plans do change here and there. I mean, Vritra here wasn't originally on my summon plans, but now she's, well, grailed in in the middle of being gold foed, so you never know where this game will take you. Let's see here. Should probably make us the only ones with drop CEs show up, but at the same time, I guess it's not a huge deal. Alright, here we are. And here we go. As the next event, I believe it's the Da Vinci Summer event coming up next for the server I'm on, the NA server. That one also has a bit of a lotto to it, but I believe this one has more of the mats that I need, so... Although I guess I don't need too many more, since as I said, I don't have too many pull projects coming up, and I don't need to max every single servant. Final Ascend, of course, but... Here we are. Here we go. Alright, for round 3, I believe I have a comp set up with Sieg and... I'd have to look it up, honestly. I genuinely forgot off the top of my head what my round 3 team's going to be, but I had the first two one right away, but I guess the first two are the ones that matter since, well, those rounds are before 3. Yeah, come to my stream, learn to count to 3. Yeah, I should probably just do this. I'm not going to be anal about making it flawlessly 6 MLB slots, but I do want to make sure I at least have a decent, for lack of a better term, income from each run. Especially since I'm doing a full plug suit round. Luckily, I don't mind using the plug suit, but it is a shame I have to waste the Mystic Code experience here. Although I guess that won't be an issue at the end of the year, since there's going to be another one with the order change on it. And then the experience can then go there. Oh yeah, there's also going to be a new one at Halloween, which does look fun, but it doesn't have the order change option, so... Only so much can be done there. There we go. Sheesh, Vritra is there a third skill? Yeah, increases NP gauge each turn. Yeah, so Vitra's skill 3 is really good for smoothing over whenever she is just slightly shy of enough to loop. Like that. And there we go. Panda BB and Zenobia, huh? I was seriously considering rolling for Zenobia at some point, especially since I don't exactly have an arts AoE archer, but at the same time... well, first of all, she's on raid up with... who is it with, actually? I'll look at up during the NP animation here real quick. But it's an AoE quick foreigner class servant, if I remember right. Zenobia's up there with Queen of Sheba as one of those characters I genuinely thought was a bit too obscure even for Fate, but it was neat seeing her show up. But... let's see here. Wow, it's taking sweet time to load. Well, whatever. I'll just continue farming while we wait. Fair. Halloween. Summoning campaign. That was Demole. Yeah. That's an interesting one because, That's a historical figure that was both proper male in this universe, but also then gender swapped despite being in the same universe. But yeah. Yeah, a foreigner servant is one that can be helpful, but isn't necessary per se. Plus, I already have Mysterious Ilex Altar if I want a quick-based AoE foreigner, so... Yeah, not sure. The game definitely has a desire sensor if you're trying to roll for 4 stars. Like, I tried to... When I first rolled for Queen Sheba, all I came back with was, like, 2 Abigail Williams, and I wasn't a big fan of Abby. At least in terms of class. The only time I used her that was, because I genuinely thought she would be important here rather than just for fun was because, well, foreigners beat pretenders, and so she was a big help in that fight, but... Actually, I guess I probably could have made the fight against Sheranos a lot easier if I had used her there, but I really wanted Queen Sheba to be used there because, well, frankly, she has a hilarious animation against him. Probably not. I imagine most probably won't consider it a valid win since I had to use a bunch of blue cubes there, but I mean, what else am I going to use those for? I'm completely caught up on the story, and even the final boss that was supposed to be harder afterward was, well, really easy, so better I use them than let them expire, right? At least that's my excuse if anyone's going to demand an explanation. You'll get an explanation, but not an apology. Those blue cubes are there to be used. And the funny part is I looked it up afterward, but apparently NA got the nerfed version of him. There was actually an even harder version before they, there was apparently just too overtuned, so they nerfed him. Naturally, there's some arguments over whether he should have been nerfed or not, but at the same time, this is a mobile game. It's not meant to be Elden Ring or some Souls-like. Still, I'm sure this game has gotten me to appreciate supports in other mobile games. I mean, there's a reason my favorites in Arc Knights include stuff like Stainless Ock, and I've actually recently hit M Mastery 3 on Lynn's skill 2. I know. Oh, the people who play that game will be all, oh, come on, her skill 3 is the big one that everyone uses her for, but, well, she's not exactly meta. But thanks, Ryzen. She's not exactly meta either way, if we're honest, so I don't think it's a huge deal. I don't mind you doing that. Well, I appreciate it. I don't know why, but every game that allows me to use exploding shields is just really, really fun for me. And even in the Vernal Winds event, it was fun watching the enemies just attack Thorns with his shield up, and then boom, they just exploded. That was hilarious. Yeah, supports are absolutely not necessary in Arcanites, unlike in this game, but that doesn't change they can enable quite a few things. Like, I was complaining there that a lot of maps were designed specifically to control enemy density so that Thorns would have trouble getting his skill 3 active in time. But Stainless, he absolutely fills that immediately. Niches and challenges can always be kind of neat. At the same time, I think I was trying to force myself into niches too much, because there's a lot of my favorites that don't necessarily have overlap, like, let's see here. Well, Ock and Stainless don't really belong to... Let's see here. I don't think there's too many overlapping stuff there. I guess Male Knights would work, but since that would include ones like Cerny, but it would also mean I'd have to omit ones like Saga, and Saga's fun. I could just go no meta 6 stars, which allow ones like Ebonholes and stuff, since a lot of the casters are not meta, unless they're named Aya or Ifrit. But at the same time, there is some arguments over what counts as meta and what isn't. Like, does Saga is generally considered the best Pioneer Vanguard, but does that make her meta? Neon and Hoshiguma are argued as the best Protector defenders, but most won't use a Protector defender, period. Does they count as meta since they're the best in their field, even if their archetype isn't necessarily used often? I guess that can be a perk of how FGO has... Well, FGO does suffer a bit from having some similar kits. If a unit has a battery to charge their NP meter, as well as a good damage buff, whether they use it themselves or give it to someone else, that usually means they'll at least function in just about any team you want them in. So there's definitely a lot of freedom in what you kind of teams you can build as long as you have the corresponding supports. Although the caveat is you do need the supports. You can borrow one, but as you can see, this very comp I'm using requires 2 Castorias. As I said, I've tried it with Castorian Waver and Oberon, but that just doesn't cut it, unfortunately. Maybe once I finish using max gold foes on Vritra, she might be strong enough where she can get by with just a Waver instead of 2 Castorias, but I can't say for sure right now. Oh well. At the very least, I know for this event and the summer event, Da Vinci Summer, my teams are completely set, and I think the Martha Christmas event at the end of the year, the next big Lotto event that everyone's preparing for, that one has a Lancer node for the final one, which basically means I've already won because that means Jason can handle it. As I said, Jason's only flaw is they lacks damage, and I have a few ways to fix that, so... yeah. Again, I say, who needs Muramasa? I got Jason right here. And of course, the big raid event, the Sunoko event? Sunaka? Whatever it is, right at the end of the year. Vritra is famous for being able to handle that, so I'm pretty sure mine will be able to handle it since she's, you know, grailed and gold foed. I'll be highly surprised if she has any trouble whatsoever. Alright, so basically until the end of the year, I have all my servants and plans all built and prepared. Next year is where things get interesting, since, like I said, we're going to start seeing the rise of more 90++ nodes. And those I'm going to have to see how I can get to work. Theoretically, I should be fine since I have all the main supporters. It'll suck not to have the Merlins and such for survival purposes, but I think I can make do with what I have. I don't need the quote-unquote immortal comp to function. Good enough, I don't need her NP for this. The Buster meta may be here, but I still swear by the arts meta. Or at least that's what the majority of my strongest ones are. Even have a few quick ones now. Reminds me, I hope Lakshmi Bai... I need to check when Lakshmi Bai's buff is coming up. She's really fun, but her damage is very anemic, even at NP2. And again, oh yeah, and Lakshmi Bai. That's like with Shiba and Zenobia, that's another obscure historical figure I did not expect to show up in the game, so it's pretty nice when she spooked me. And so I decided, you know what, let's have some fun, and so now she is also grailed. This is definitely a game good for surprising you for who might show up, although the designs are always going to be hit or miss. But I guess that's how it always goes. I mean, Record of Ragnarok is kind of Fate-like, and it also has some hit-or-miss designs. All that matters is, do they vibe with you? Or at least that's my take. Alrighty.
天よ、天元の鱗に閉ざされる。地が退色があるに飲まれる。
Alright, speaking of Arcanines, let me see. Looks like the next one coming up is most likely going to be reruns, unfortunately, so... Unless I forgot to do the Guiding Ahead EX stages... what kind of setup does this person have? Super Orion? Morgan? Only a single grill in Castoria. They're alright. Alrighty.
まだまだ未熟者ですが頑張ります。せっともかくれる。水のうちの準備。
All the blue.
本気など集えアスラ、我への肉なる魔の軍勢よ。アスラシュレーシター。
I guess since, I think you might have been able to see when I first started the stream, but I've been just in repeat till then, so... I know there are some challenge nodes in this event as well for some useful items. I'll probably do those later. As I said, I don't usually go too hard on these lottos, so I want to keep it at least a bit laid back. I'll probably do most of them at the tail end, especially the one that gives a lore, since I'm gonna need more of those. Should be easy.
ま、適当に遊んでやるかな。なんじゃ、もう終わってしまうのか。つまらん。
終わったかい。敵対しているものだとはいえ、倒してしまうのはちょっと忍びなかったね。
I did look it up, and apparently Lysander, the alias our protagonist goes by, is also a character from A Midsummer Night's Dream. I'm guessing that's probably why Oberon decided to give that to us as an alias when he wanted to protect our true name from the, Forgotten Fairies. That's another thing I really have to give Lost Belt 6. They really knew how to give a strong first impression, having those fairies that are all really friendly to you, but then immediately turn on you the moment they want to have a different kind of fun. I will say they really it was really a good while to finish the Lost Belt 6 storyline though. 3 parts, basically a month of just the story. Probably for the best that I split it up by streaming it like that, because if I'd done it each part all within like the week it started, it would have been a lot. I would have ended up with a lot more dead time afterward. Nice to grab a sip of my drink here real quick. Yeah, the Eternal Sleep is really nasty. Not only does it basically render your servant completely inoperable, but it also removes all their buffs. Granted, they don't really need them anymore now that they're effectively out of the fight, even if they're still alive, but... yeah. As I said, Oberon third skill is definitely a finish the fight or things are going to get a lot worse type of skill. Wait, what am I saying? That kind of thing is called an all or nothing skill. How did I not think of that? How did I blank on that? Ugh. Alright, let's go through here.
適当に遊んでやるからな。なんじゃ、もう終わってしまうんだ。つまらん。
There we are. Here.
さて、ここからだ。
本当に良いのか？
気が引けるけどね。
集えアスラ、我への肉なる魔の軍勢よ。アスラシュレーシター。
I think there's something else to talk about here. I don't necessarily have to shoot the breeze, as it were, just talking about random stuff, but... well, I guess one of the perks of just farming like this is that I can talk about just whatever. I guess I could mention I'm still doing that tabletop adventure with buddies, Pathfinder, that's it. It's not D&D, but it's kind of similar, I guess. There's a lot of RPG models there. Might have mentioned a while ago, but yeah, there's something I'd always had some level of interest in, but was a bit nervous because, well, looking at the site where all the information was, it's about as concise and easy to parse as my college textbooks. Spoiler, those are not at all concise or easy to parse. So, I absolutely needed the GM to help me through it, but there's already another new player, so we had to do that no matter what, and had friends that I was already familiar with in there, so they were able to help walk me through a number of stuff, and finally feel like I'm getting the hang of things. My character absolutely despises getting rolls higher than 10 on perception, though, so do not trust my character to notice anything, that's for sure. See here. Ah.
本気など出さんわ。天よ、変幻の鱗に閉ざされる。地、退色の悪に飲まれる地。アスラシュレーシタ。
You know, usually the YouTube thumbnails for these FGO videos are pretty much always cutscenes, since I usually just stream the main story stuff for them. So, sadly, there aren't too many that are actually mid-fight. But hey, this is a farming stream, so maybe this one actually will be a mid-fight. It could also be an NP animation, too, now that I think about it. I've had a couple of those. I do try and figure about what kind of thumbnails YouTube will choose, but it doesn't seem to pick the thumbnail at any specific points in there. At least not that I've noticed. It feels like it chooses a different one at roughly the same time frame, but not the exact same each. I don't know, I'm guessing that's to adjust for how some videos are longer than others. If I made real YouTube video stuff, I probably wouldn't make any longer than 10 minutes or whatever if possible. Okay, that's a lie. I shoot the breeze a lot. I'd talk a lot. I'd probably overly detail stuff still, but my point is it wouldn't be like 2 to 3 hours like my streams here usually are. Well, actually, probably more like 2 to 4, since that's the length my Grandia and Lost Spell 6 videos were, and those were my most recent story streams. Yeah, I'm probably gonna stream until I just get really tired. Like I said, I don't want to start a new game or anything when I'm about to take a brief hiatus. And when I get back, I wouldn't even be able to continue immediately, since I still have my multiplayer stream with buddies that I need to do each week, so... Well, not need to, more that I want to do those, since our schedules don't line up that often. So yeah, I figure probably best hold off until I can actually start dedicating time to it. Tired. Oh, don't be like that. I mean more in the sense that when I get too tired, when I start falling asleep. Oops. What the? Why is it saying spamming symbols? I'm looking at the deleted Nightbot modded message, but it doesn't have anything spammed except for a few ellipses. I'm gonna need to look at that at some point. It's been getting a lot of people that it's not supposed to lately. I'll need to... Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. I usually have it largely so that people can't spam to disrupt the stream, since I've had that happen once or twice, but if it's going to be that sensitive, I might need to tone it down a bit. I probably don't need to have it too strong since I'm usually able to pay attention to the chat and stream. Most of the time. And not always, though. Like, I have noticed that I can easily get absorbed into the, when I'm playing a 4X game like Civ or Age of Wonders, I do get really, really into it here and there. But usually I can handle it all myself. Especially since, well, to be blunt, I'm just not that popular, so I don't usually have that many people to keep an eye on. But, yeah, you know what I'm getting at. It's a small enough community I can usually keep an eye on things by myself. Guess it counts. Yeah, if it's just an ellipses, I should really mark it as allowing that. Well, I suppose finding false positives and removing those are an important part of evolving the bot, so to speak. Pretty bad? Oh dear. Yeah, I need to look at that. I'm sorry, Raizun. Let's see here. Alright. At the very least, it doesn't look like it gave you any markings or anything on my end. At least not that I'm seeing. So the good news is, pretty sure if something went wrong, I could remove it, but it doesn't look like that's going to be a problem. Alrighty. I spread my grails. Oh well, I guess it's right here. I have spread my grails a bit thin, since, as you can see, I have both a level 100 Vritra and a level 100 Castoria, but I guess I just like to spread out my grails rather than dedicating them all to just one unit like others do. It does mean I'm going to have a lot less 120s compared to others, but it does also mean I can have a few more to show off on the friends list. I guess any way is valid. We are. This is probably my most smooth clear of all the rounds for this Nerofest. Honestly, even I'm kind of surprised. As I said, Vritra wasn't on the list of units you could potentially handle as a single core, but I guess my investment in her was high enough. Now the bot's helping. Sorry about that, Ryzune. I'll definitely have to look into the bot before I leave, or when I get back. I'll have to make a note of it. I appreciate it's okay, but like I said, I need to look at that. It's also been hitting some people who are, again, they're not being spammers, and yet it's still hitting them, so I do need to adjust the bot either way. Oh dear. I don't even want to ask about the Nobu coin. Wait, what am I saying? I think I know what they're referring to. Alright, let's go through here. Just the bot more. Yeah, I definitely am going to have to do that. I mean, obviously not right at this moment since I'm streaming. Alright, see you later, Ryzune. Thanks for stopping by. I'll need to make a note somewhere to look at the bot either before I leave or right as I get back, because I really need it to stop, going after people who aren't being blatant spammers. Especially with something like ellipses, because ellipses are usually for emotion first rather than... yeah, you know what I mean. I am. Incidentally, the fact this game has a lot of alts is one of the reasons I'm really not too bothered by the alts in Arknights. In fact, I'm gonna give a fairly unpopular opinion, say I think and Alter got way more heat than she really deserved. I don't know, I guess the Arcanite's fanbase likes to think, well, we're not like those other gachas. To an extent, they're not wrong. The fact it's a tower defense instead of a standard RPG like this game does mean you can get away with some rather silly things you probably shouldn't be able to get away with, but at the end of the day, they still need to make money, and ults of popular characters or ults of less popular ones that need a second go, like Reed, are definitely a good way to do that. So I absolutely would not hold against them.
ま、適当に遊んでやるかな。なんじゃ、もう終わってしまうのか。つまらん。
That's not to say it still can't get out of hand. Like, the Japanese server had the Anniversary Servant and Summer Servants revealed at the same time, only to find out they were a bit more similar than there were going to be a couple more saber faces than many were expecting. And I can understand why many are feeling the saber face fatigue there.
本当に良いのか。仕方ないの。
But at the same time, I think the issue is they were announced so close to one another. Not to mention Lost Belt 6 just finished dropping here in the NA server. So that just made the whole thing worse. If not for that, I think people would have been a lot more fine with it. Maybe spread them out a bit, or maybe not have the chapter it's focused around just hit the NA server, so it'd be absolutely fresh in everyone's minds.
本当に良いの。
いいとも。
ま、適当に遊んでやるかな。なんじゃ、もう終わってしまうのか。つまらん。
There we are, battle. Ah, I'm gonna grab another sip of my drink while I'm here.
天元の鱗に閉ざされる。地、体色があると飲まれる地。アスラシュレーシタ。
Ah, there we are.
要するに別だから。早炊きですよ、カルウェナ。
Ah.
うまい手を考えよう。
本気など出さんが。
For the record, the reason I stream a lot of Arcanites events and not Fate Grand Order ones are because, the Fate Grand Order, when they drop an event, they drop the story stages first, including most of the farming stages, and have the ones for challenge and stuff later. FGO posts all of those in a time gate. So rather than just time gating the harder stuff or the later farming nodes, they time gate everything. Story, farming nodes, everything behind about a week, where each new day has a new node and story instead of nodes there, so unfortunately that means it's impossible for me to do FGO stories in one go unless I ignore farming for a week or whatever it takes to get the whole story out, and that is too long, especially events that have something you need to farm, like a rewards ladder or whatever. It's just not gonna work. The reason I've done the tower events so far is simply because those are a bit different. For those, they only time gate the harder ones, kind of like Arcanites does. Therefore, I can safely stream the story without having to worry about getting cut off every so often. Gameplay is in this game is a lot more simple compared to something like Arknights, where since you basically just, well, as you can see, I'm mostly just dumping all my buffs on a single unit and going from there. Sometimes, and if it's a boss fight like in Lost Spell 6, I simply plan when I want the defense buffs active, when I want the big nukes to drop, stuff like that. But that's not inherently a bad thing at all, honestly. Even with all these Yu-Gi-Oh! Tier descriptions, it's still often a case of, apply buffs, protect yourself in some fashion from the enemy attacks / NPs. And that's the big part of it. And again, it's also why the supports are absolutely key in this game. Making sure you have enough damage to clear the fight, while also making sure you can protect yourself if the enemy retaliates, since you might recall, if you were watching my Lost Spell 6, or honestly any story stream, even back to Olympus, you'll notice that a lot of them, once you defeat one HP bar for the boss, and they go to the next one, they will often have a free instant fill of their NP bar. So they kind of force you to have to take it out. The first story arc had none, but that unfortunately meant even back then they'd have Gilgamesh or Skahak just nuke the boss, and you'd never have to deal with a single attacker mechanic or whatever. But now with multiple HP bars, not only do you have to deal with a few turns of the enemy attacking no matter what, but they're typically guaranteed at least to get off 1 NP on you that you have to prepare for. This is not inherently a bad thing, though I do dislike how they have quite a bit of buff removal ever since, how the game's been loving buff removal ever since Olympus. And don't get me wrong, I know why. It's because Castoria has... They can't just use Invuln, Pierce, or other nuke stuff, because Castoria's NP protects you even from piercing damage. And they need bosses to at least have some level of ability to bypass that, so they just go with, we'll just remove all your buffs. Makes me glad I grailed my Santa Nightingale, although... like with the Lyn situation, people have gotten pretty upset about me doing that. I've also been told that I completely wasted resources leveling my Sherlock Holmes past level 1, which... I get where they're going with that, since arguably the best way to use him is to have him drop his NP and then get taunted. But Sherlock was one of the reasons I started playing the game in the first place. I don't think I could, in good faith, not have him grailed. Just wouldn't make sense. And since I'm giving hot takes, the Sherlock Holmes books are not while I do like Sherlock Holmes and his stories, I won't sit here and say they're the best of all detective fiction has to offer. But there is definitely something to be said about being the one to start it as a genre. Even if he's not the best, the fact he's the first, the pioneer... Oh, so yeah, the fact he's the pioneer of the genre still makes him pretty important in my opinion. Kind of like how Alone in the Dark for PC was one of the first... is generally considered to be the first survival horror game. That or Sweet Home on the NES, but I think... no, Alone in the Dark predates it, yeah. I think Alone in the Dark predates it, but yeah. It's considered the... But if you ask people about the origin of survival horror, most are going to bring up Resident Evil, because that's the one that pioneered the whole thing. That's the one that was made it popular, that codified it. That's what the word I'm looking for, codified the genre. So Alone in the Dark is the pioneer, and Resident Evil is the codifier. And indeed, many will probably say that Resident Evil 1 has aged better, especially with the remakes and such, while the original Alone in the Dark, it's not awful, to its credit, but it does have a lot of trial and error and guide dang it parts. Credit where credit's due, they wanted to do Lovecraftian horror, and back then that's kind of the only way he most would have been able to think of a way to do it. So hardly fair to criticize it for stuff that was pretty standard for the time. In the context of its release, I mean. Don't know why I said that out of nowhere.
さて、ここからだ。
ほんほんほ
I don't even need these brave chains for Vritra. I just like how they look when I activate them.
退職がある
Truth be told, I should probably avoiding them since that takes slightly less time, but well, the fact I'm using a plug suit comp shows that I'm not really going to be too concerned about flawless time management.
ありがとう。頑張る。どうも。
これが我という魔よ集えアスラ我への肉なる魔の軍勢よアスラシュレーシタ鐘の音が聞こえる
Ooh, nice, 40 on the dot. Now that's a big deal since I've got golden apples to spare. But always neat.
さて石炭これが我という仕方ないのま適当に遊んでやるかななんじゃもう終わってしまうのかつまらん
Her skill 3 is absolutely essential to making this comp work. A lot of times she ends up just slightly short of enough refund to properly loop. But then, oh, now she's not.
うまい手を考えよう。
これが我と本気など出さんが集えアスラ我の肉なる魔の軍勢よアスラシュレーシタ
Here we go.
ありがとう。頑張るよ。どうも。
ほんと仕方ない本気など出さんがま適当に遊んでやるかななんじゃもう終わってしまうのかつまらん
終わったかい。敵対しているものだとはいえ、倒してしまうのはちょっと忍びなかったね。
I always feel like I'm forgetting something. Not sure what it would be here. Guess I will say I was disappointed I didn't get Barguest when I pulled for my Mothman here. But I guess that's not a huge deal because, well, as you can see, Mothman here is the big enabler of stuff that would never work without him otherwise.
退職があるの飲まれるうちアスラシュレーシタ
さて、ここからだ。
本当に良い仕方ないの天よ天元の鱗に閉ざされ
That's an interesting enemy name, just the curse. Hello 420 Blaze Gotcha, welcome to the stream. And yeah, sadly, she was the one I was disappointed didn't come. Huh. Unfortunate, but I didn't want to use up too many quartz after I already got the Mothman, so I guess I'll simply have to hope for another raid up. Hope for luck on another raid up.
ほんほんほん
Summon before Morgan and before Zero. Oh, dang.
肉なる魔の軍勢よアスラシュレ
I pretty much focused all my quartz this year on Koyanskaya and Oberon, so I unfortunately only had one chance for them, and
おったかい
I did get Sith, but she was, well, when I say my least favorite, I don't say that I dislike her, I just mean that, she wasn't the one that stuck me as much as the other Tamlin knights. I think it's because they didn't pace out her story very well, and so she ended up, having all of her story dumped right at the tail end of Part 2, and with everything that was already going on at the time, it was just impossible to get as attached as with the others. Meanwhile, Barguess had a pretty good arc spread throughout her entire story.
本当に良い方
And same with Melusine.
ま適当に遊んでやるからなんじゃもう終わってしまうのかつまらん
Morgan's good, but as you can see, I'm a bit more of an arts fan, as shown by Vritra here. Melusine's a weird case. Yeah, she's a bit different from all the others, even with, Hey, watching some using Vritra this. Ooh, what kind of, comp are you doing?
さてここからだ
Mine's just a very simple double Castorian Oberon support, plus plug suit. This app requires absolutely no face cards, though, so it's pretty efficient, I think. I don't go too hard on lottos, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to try the best I can with my team. Plus, conveniently for me, Vritra is one of my projects. She's in the middle of being gold foed, and as you can see, she's already level 100. Well, I think my avatar's blocking it. No, it doesn't list her level here. Well, that's annoying.
なあ僕の力じゃないさ
Which Oberon for Koyan, that's what I'm doing. Requires face carding round 1. Ah. Well, Koyan does give a good amount of stars, and Vritra has a good star gather skill, so I could definitely see that working. I actually used a crit comp on my round 1 team. That one was my Saber Hakosai, Castoria swapped for Oberon, and a borrowed archer, usually Gilgamesh or Ishtar. It was a bit RNG for the first round to crit them down, but it usually works fine since both Gil and Hakosai have a Star Gather skill, and as long as Oberon doesn't get too many of the stars, and as long as I don't constantly miss 90%, I'm usually good. Gil and Coins this one. I had to borrow the Gilerish star because I couldn't get anyone else to work. Hakosai can NP the second enemy, and generally anyone but Oberon can crit down the first one just fine. Oberon technically can if he gets a Brave Chain, but you can obviously tell I didn't want him to do that unless I absolutely had to. So yeah. I did end up popping a Command Sealer too, just because I ended up short an NP or two here and there. That's fine, that's what they're here for. You get one for each day. If you're not using them, they're just going to waste.
これが仕方ないの
Yeah, my plan for that was crit down the first enemy, Hakosai cleaves the second one in 1 NP, and Gilerish targets the others. I did try to experiment with other archers, like someone's max investment Enmia, and an NP 2 or 3 archer Jeanne d'Arc, but unfortunately those were not working. It had to be Gilerish Star, from what I could tell. If it wasn't NP5 or something, NP5 Summer Jeanne or something, Ibuki would survive, and then I'd have to face card the rest. which is of course mildly
本
annoying.
当によしか
But not a huge deal. I think this is probably going to be my most smooth clear since it's a single unit core.
なんじゃもう終わってしまうのかつまらん
Oh, and you probably can see it since it's not blocked by my avatar, but my Castoria is also grailed to 100. Lost Belt 6 really gave me a good impression of her.
ありがとう。ジャンプ
It doesn't actually affect her support or anything, I just kind of like it. And I just felt like she deserved the grails after everything that happened to her in Lost Belt 6.
こっちか
Alright.
ま適当に遊んでやるかななんじゃもう終わってしまうのかつまらん
僕だってやればできるさ。椅子に座ってるだけが王様じゃないとも。
I've got a handful of other grilled servants, but I guess I could take a moment to show them off if you want to see them. Let's see here. I'm gonna do the challenge quests later, but for the moment, probably a good break here. Formation, support setup. Here we are. This is the event one. Here we are, support 1. Jason is my obligatory 1-star project. He was key for winning in Skahak Fest, and he's going. My understanding is the big node in Martha Miss is also a Lancer node, so he's going to be getting a lot of use there too. Lakshmi Bai and Queen Sheba are obscure figures that I didn't think would make it into the game, so I thought, ooh, I gotta grail them. Sieg, I'm genuinely surprised I liked after his writing. Probably only 100 Jason I've ever seen. I'd probably bring him to 120 if I got enough coins for it, but that's going to be a bit of a marathon, so I'm kind of focusing on others. Tamacat here was my tutorial role, and she's never let me down since, so she's very high investment. Sherlock Holmes is one of the 5 stars that got me to start the game in period. He's a bit specialized, but I like him. I actually didn't have a favorite assassin until Kichi Hogan arrived here, so I guess that tells you how big of a deal she was for me when I got to see her in action. I've actually got a handful of Lancers here. But yeah, the big ones are Tama Lancer, who really didn't want to come home. I had to pull on multiple banners to get her. And, of course, Vritra here. And, of course, Summer Mordred is my main rider. She's NP3, I think. Yeah. She usually shares a banner with Tama Lancer, and she was a lot more winning. That's definitely first. Yeah, Tamacat, I openly admit, is low tier. It's just that she's my tutorial role, plus Berserkers are just nice that they nuke everything, so... I just figure, yeah, I'll just Arash Wave 1, but sadly she cannot loop. And believe me, I tried everything. Paracelsus, Nero Bride, Stubble Scotty. She just doesn't have the NP gain. Yeah, that's a level 1, that's a year 1 servant for you. They're either really amazing or really bizarre. And yeah, as I said, Lakshmi Bai is a historical figure I didn't think I'd see in the game, so I figured, oh man, I gotta bring her up here. I'm looking forward to her buff coming up. Her damage is a little anemic, and that's definitely her weakest point. Actually, that's kind of the thing I'd say with Jason, too. I actually had to use Tammo no Mai as well as Castoria in order to get him to deal enough damage to properly loop in Skathfest. And yeah, I think Sieg was my least favorite part of Apocrypha, but now, thanks to my first Saber, I appreciate it for her. Oh yeah, I definitely appreciate her. As you can see, I kind of spread my grails, bringing most of them to level 90 at the very least, and key ones to 100. And some of them are even earned through their service, like, yeah, Arash here I gave a grail simply because he's always been so reliable, and I'm probably going to be doing Saber Hakosai next. Although you'll also notice I don't have too many single-target units grailed, so probably also good. For the most part, I guess my Saber, Archer, and Lancers are the ones I feel I have the strongest units with. Although, not that I'm lacking in riders. I do have Ryoma and Rider Kentoki, so I'm pretty safe there. For me, a Grayling servant is not only one I like in story, not just one I like, not whether they're just whether they're a meta or not. It's also they have to feel fun to use, if that makes any sense. Like, I've done a few of those solos with Sherlock, and those were pretty fun. Vritra, of course, I have there because her entire kit is quite nice. I have absolutely no complaints about her. Good damage, survivability, she can use basic face cards if she has to, including a Stargather to enable that, so... And of course, Lakshmi Bai is a lot of fun as well. She does need her third skill to get all the rest going. Once she does, she actually offers quite a bit of buffs and such. I've used her in some 2 DPS, 1 support setups. It's a bit rough though, because like I said, her damage is probably her weakest point. So hopefully when she gets her buff, it'll be a bit better, because I know she has one coming up in the pipeline, so to speak. But yeah, Berserkers. I also have a Grailed Adelante altar here. Largely because I don't have too many crit Berserkers, and she's a fun one for that. Summer Jalter is also pretty good, but I guess I lean a bit more towards Quicken Arts than I do Arts and Buster. In fact, I guess looking at this list, Quick Arts, Quick Buster, Arts, Quick Arts. And of course the Archers, I do have a bunch of quick ones here. Ooh, I've even, yeah. Including the, as I said, Babylon Sith and the non-Fairy Knight Tristan there, so yeah. Decent amount of there. Like I said, I spread my grails a bit thin, but at the same time, it does mean I can mark ones that I particularly like to use. And it is nice to have some variety. Oh, I forgot to grab these. It is nice to have some variety for the nodes. Having basically every single class well built means I can handle just about any node that comes up, and I don't really need to worry about getting stuff that's quote-unquote meta. Not to say I don't pay attention to what people use here and there, it's just that, I guess I just like having all my bases covered. That SQ stash, 1 Tarnation. Yeah, I've been playing since the second Valentine's event, so I have almost all welfares and almost all welfares, which by extension means I haven't been in need of pulling. Granted, the reason I'm able to save up on this game is because having played other gachas, ones where I have regretted paying for in the past, I've learned there's a big difference between what would be nice and what I actually need. Long story short, if something seems nice because, ooh, shiny and new, I have to remind myself, there'll always be better units. So the question is here, does this actually help me in any major way? And by simply skipping the majority of banners there, I was able to amass that total. As I said, I've had almost all my, as you saw, I have almost all the welfares here, and most classes have someone grailed, which means I don't need to go for 5 stars unless there's someone I really want. Which of course means that I can, now that Pity's here, I can guarantee more stuff like that. Here. So it's the big thing that got me that Saint Quartz though is I haven't pulled in almost 2 years now, except for Castoria, and oh yeah, I absolutely good job. Oh, thank you. I absolutely abuse our Clairvoyance EX for the NA server to make sure that I only go for the ones that matter. Like, in the next few years, I might go for Summer Scotty, but I need to limit myself for anything else because there's an upcoming servant that was just announced in the Japanese server that I know I'm going to want. And you could probably tell who it is just by my, who I'm favoring from Lost Belt 6 here. Actually, I can even share here. Technically, still, some units do surprise me. Yep. Still, some units do surprise me. Believe it or not, I actually was not planning to summon for, Vritra at first. But, I ended up liking the story enough to be all, you know what, I'm gonna toss some quartz at her banner, and she ended up coming home. So, I simply waited until her Valentine's rate up, and she was not nearly as kind then. I almost had to hit the hard pity, but there I got her NP2, since all main pool female servants get a rate up then. And thus we now have my NP2 Vritra. It wasn't quite that low, but yeah. I guess it was a sign, that's for sure. Depending on how things go, I might seriously consider doing the Valentine's rate-up thing again next year, though. Because an NP3 Vritra would absolutely cover all my Lancer needs. She even does single target damage on the enemy if they count as divine, which is surprising. But I guess it is pretty common, too. There's a lot of divine archers. Here we are. So I do plan the best of my ability, but there are still some surprises here and there, and Vitra's definitely one of them. It's a bit of a slow process to use the pity to guarantee NP levels, however. That's why for the upcoming summer unit, I'm definitely want as much of a quartz stash as possible, simply because, well, just getting 1 NP per banner is going to make it really rough to use them. As they say, a 5-star needs at least NP2 in order to outdamage their budget competition. And make no mistake, budget competition can be pretty good in this game, depending on class. Like, if she ends up being a caster again, that means she has to compete with my level 100 Sieg, and Sieg is a very popular welfare for a good reason. He has good damage, good looping, he even deals single target damage if the enemy is a dragon, although dragon assassins are really rare, unfortunately, but still, it's something he does have the ability to do. And there were some events, to be fair, that had them, like, one of the tower events, I think it was... Yeah, one of the tower events had an assassin dragon, and Oniland had an assassin dragon, so... It's not something that never happens. Oh, and Shuten Doji, whenever she shows up, she is also classified as a dragon. So... Plus any dragon berserkers, like, I think Ibuki counts. So yeah, it's not nearly as common as divine archers, but it's definitely up there. It's definitely useful here when it does show up. So yeah, it's going to be rough competition if I can't get at least NP2 from that banner. And so I absolutely need to be sure I have a good quartz count for there. Because I pulled, like, what was it, 180 for my first Tamalancer. I hit absolute 0 in my quartz count there, and she did not come home. I somehow missed a 90% chance, I think it was. I think it was something like 86 to 90% chance to get her. Yeah. And as I said, I've been burned on other gachas, so I am not allowing myself to spend money even on GSSRs. So yeah, I try to manage my pulls I try to manage my pulls the best of my ability. Free to play gang. Oh yeah. Technically, my avatar has the option to make the arms move, but it doesn't look too natural, so I deactivated it. That being said, later GSSR banners are too compelling. Oh yeah, rest assured I don't hold it against anyone who does. I mean, by all means, more GSSRs for you. But since I've been burned so hard on previous gachas, I try to dedicate myself to free-to-play for all current ones. So this one, Arknights, they all get kept purely free-to-play.
本気など出さんわ。
Arcan's probably easiest to stay free to play. It's definitely one of them. And the nature of the tower defense means you can get away with a lot of shenanigans that you probably shouldn't be able to. You technically can FGO as well, but it depends largely on what kind of supports you have, since this game is a lot more support-focused.
椅子に座ってるだけが王様じゃないとも。
There.
みんなついてきて。ゴー。となる。石との。本当によ。本気など出さんわ。ま、適当に遊んでやるから。なんじゃ、もう終わってしまうんだ。
I'm not sure how confident I am in my third round team. I believe it's... but I'll have to double check it. I don't remember off the top of my head what I have planned for it, but I think it's one of the Sieg comps. But I don't have Sanzang for that one, so I'd have to double check who I'm using as a substitute. I mean, I do have Shirshi, but she's only NP1, and suffice to say that won't be enough to use her for it. She can't kill with that. Yeah, this is probably going to be the smoothest round I can possibly go through, since it doesn't require any shenanigans or crit RNG or anything. Just purely Vritra being Vritra. Oh yeah, smooth like butter. Even on the lowest roll I've seen her get, she still hits around 250k for each enemy on the final wave, so there's no possible way she'll fail to secure the kills. Any card other than the NP is absolutely irrelevant for this run, but it's still cathartic to get those Brave Chains or Arts Chains. At least that's how I feel. Alright, there we go. There we are.
さて、味見味見、せき止めてくれよ。ゴー！となせき止めてくれよ。白兵戦、行きます。そうだね。そうだね。ほんとほんと。天よ、天元の鱗に閉ざされる地、体色があると飲まれる地、アスラシュレーシタ。
Oh no, I need order change. Ah, can't be blanking out now.
うまい手を考えろ。
コント集えアスラ、我への肉なる魔の軍勢よ、アスラシュレーシタ。
Here, if I think about it, I believe the Scathfest was the first lotto I was able to go full 6 drop CE on, because Jason with easily loops with Castoria's help. Well, Castoria makes anything with an arts card and a pulse loop, but you get what I mean. I still need a plug suit for that, though, because without Tammo no Mai boosting his damage, Jason hits like a wet noodle still. He might be able to do a bit better in Marthamus, since he'll be having Oberon back him up. And of course, the raid event after is one where everyone suddenly remembers that Vritra exists. So that should also be a good farming event for me to obliterate. Oh my god, from Space Mel's out, another person with Equin 20. Yeah, I do. If not, I could probably remove some of the people who haven't responded in a while, so... let me just finish this wave and I can toss you in, I guess. A smart person would probably wait until after the stream, but I can do it right here mid-stream because I am a very professional streamer, as you can see. Most of the time, I usually have my damage dealers up on my support because, well, first of all, they're grailed, and also I figure if anyone needs help, they might get something from the damage dealers like that. Here's my user ID if you want to add me. I don't mind showing this, not for... Oh yeah, I went through a purging a little earlier, that's why I've got a few spots left. That's good to remember. Granted, they'll probably go away fairly soon, but that's just how it goes with this game. Alright, which one do I look for here? Is that 4... Are you 420 then? 420. Skahak? Ooh, and the, Summer Skahak. Now that's an interesting choice. Oh, you have 2 Skahaks, I see. Alrighty. All Skahaks. Yeah. In that case, good luck on the Summer Scotty. I might go for it myself simply because I want to make sure my quicks are in good shape. Yeah, hopefully your Summer Scotty answers your summons quickly. That will likely break free-to-play streak if things go bad. Well, it's your money, your choice.
あまりそそられんの。せき止めてくれよ。
As long as it's worth it to you, that's what matters. Here. Oh, no, not yet.
これが仕方
There we
な
go.
いの。集えアスラ、我への肉なる魔の軍勢よ。アスラシュレーシター。 これがワイと本気など出さんが。天よ、天元の鱗に閉ざされる地、体色があると飲まれる地、アスラシュレーシタ。
It's always nice to see Grail projects bear fruit like this. I guess would be the best way to put it. Basically, all that hard work is paying off, and the investment is coming to fruition. Nice.
ま、適当に遊んでやるかな。なんじゃ、もう終わってしまうのか。
Haha. Hope you don't mind if I borrow your Castoria. 3 120s, huh? That's definitely that's definitely quite a bit of dedication, especially since we don't have Grail casting yet. One of his 20s is Oberon, even crazier. Ah. In that case, it sounds like that person must have been holding on to enough Grails to 120 Oberon immediately upon his dropping. So he probably had all the materials and stuff waiting the moment Oberon answered his summons. Though granted, the coins alone would mean that he needed to get Oberon to, I think, at least NP 3 or... No, well, that's only if you max out his bond, and you can't do that immediately, so it might have been easier for them to get just NP 5 or 6 right away. Well, you technically only need NP3 if you just want to 120, but Oberon you probably want a mana loading for, so... Yeah, that's probably want at least NP4 or 5, I think. So they might have had to wail for him there, but...
本当に良いのか
Yeah, it's NP6. Ah, that explains it then, yeah. Because with NP6, that's more than enough to get his appends that matter as well as 120, since the 120 requires 300 coins. On that note, it was an absolute pain in the ass to get enough coins to get Tammo Cat to 120. Not only is she NP like 8 or something, but as you saw, she's Bond 13. I absolutely needed to do that. I also had to give up mana loading, but it actually wasn't too hard to do that. Sorry about that. Alright, 1216. Sorry, the game crashed here real quick. Let me just restart that for everyone. Yeah, 4-star main pools are a pain in the ass to get enough coins for, simply because you only get like 30 each, which is a pittance. You can tell they balanced it assuming whales would get 12 billion of them along the way to the 5 stars they want, so... Yeah. Alright, here we are. We are back, and now it's time for Vritra to continue her rampage. Then again, if she's doing it for fun, is it truly a rampage? Then again, nothing says a rampage can't also be fun. Funny thing, I actually would be willing to 120 my Sieg if I had enough coins, but of course, Welfare's only recently got the ability to do that in the Japanese server. And even then, it's only for certain ones, and he's not on the list yet, although he might eventually. We'll have to see. Can't forget that last one there. Soon TM. Well, if anything I've learned about Lazongle, do not get excited until it actually happens. Like with Hollow Knight Silk Song, I'm not getting excited until I see an actual release date. I've been burned far too much on the coming soon, coming soon, coming soon. Give me a release date or just... give me a release date or else I'm not getting excited. That's my, my take on it. FGO's always been kind of slow to punch. I mean, it took like 6 years before they got Pity. And the NA server technically got it a bit early. No, it was 7th, and NA got it a year early. So that was good. And the home server finally got the ability to get welfares that were missed, but again, that's, what, 7 or 8 years afterward? I guess Lazongle works in Valve time. Oh well. At least it's nice for the ones that are finally there. I'm especially glad that Summer Hakosai is on that list. As I said, the Summer Hakosai has probably earned at least level 9 grailing to level 90 through her service. I might even bring her to 100. We'll see how I feel, but definitely at least 90 once I get the grails for it. Unfortunately, my level 100 Castoria required me to use my last 5, so I'll have to get the one from this event and the next one in order to get her, Actually, I'm not even sure if this one will get it, since it's technically a rerun. I'll have to double check later. Oh well, if all else fails, we get Grail casting at the end of the year, and I'll get her to 90 or 100 then. I need to be careful, I'm blanking out here.
なんじゃもう終わってしまうのか。
Granted, I guess I could just be distracted by a number of things. I can technically swap any Castoria for that, but farm gets solved well, not surprising.
さて、ここからだ。
Understandable. It's also, if we're honest, it's also late where I am, so I'm probably going to be getting tired just from, you know, the day stuff on top of the farming on top of that, so... And once I start getting too tired, I'll just call the stream then. I'm taking a bit of the weekend off for some personal things, so I figure I shouldn't start the next story game I'm going to be streaming then. I don't normally do stream farming events like this, but I didn't want to start something that would require a commitment right before I was about to leave for a hiatus, so... I figure, well, why not? This is a good excuse to get some more Nerofest farming in, and also talk about whatever. Be it Lost Belt 6, my summoning plans, my grailing plans, or even other gotchas for that matter. Nice thing about farming is you can talk about just about anything, really.
今回はうまくいきました。
Streaming a lot is a weird case. We're all farming, suffering, and chilling. Indeed. It is at least nice in that it has absolutely no commitment or whatever. That's what I was looking for.
みんなついてきて。せき止めてくれよ。
For the record, I did also give Vritra her append. I'm not sure if I'd bring... I'm not sure how many units I'm going to bring to 120 period. First of all, I'll have to wait till Grail casting gets here because that's a lot of Grails, and also... Well, my Vitra's only NP2, and she actually does love mana loading, so I wanted to get that first and foremost. I'll decide about 120 later, but if I do another one, it might be my Jason, simply because, well, as a 1-star, I'm going to get more enough coins to get his appends and 120 whether I want to or not, so might as well enjoy it. Plus, as I said, Jason's biggest weakness is most definitely his damage. He also lacks a battery, but I'm used to servants that don't have a battery. Another servant I've considered for grailing is Kagatora. More Grail front vents. Oh yeah, I do like those. I'm actually kind of surprised at how useful my Tamacat has been in the Grail fronts. I thought she'd just be a meme option, but the fact she heals herself a lot makes it pretty easy to last a while, especially since your own servants get to have break bars for once. And that's pretty neat. Now the enemy has to deal with our break bar and instant NP counter.
退職があると飲まれる血。アスラシュレーした。
ありがとう。頑張るよ。ああ、
I think I'll grab a sip of my drink while the animation plays there.
本気など出さんが。天よ、変幻の鱗に閉ざされる。地、退職があると飲まれる地。アスラシュレーした。
Ah.
鐘の音が聞こえる。
So far, I think I like the Grail front. I do like the Grail front events, and I also like the tower events. I guess that's fine. I guess because the tower events are a nice way to take advantage of the full roster I've got. As I said, I have most of the welfares, and well, just pulling in general usually gives you most of the low stars. So. And of course, the tower gives a good chance to use some people other than just your A team all the time. Still, can't deny Grail fronts. I'm being able to do the hello Wazer Xavier, welcome to the stream. I'm able to do this node with my Spishstar on the art setup. So you're doing an art setup similar to mine, but with Space Ishtar? Sounds good to me. Spishstar is really good for a situation like this. I'm just a bit more focused on I just wanted. Well, Vitra's a favorite, and I wanted to use her for this, for blunt. Trip over my own. I keep tripping over my own words here. Let's see here. Finale. It's cathartic to make these arts brave chains with Vritra. Alrighty. Hello Infinity, welcome to the stream. Since I'm going to be out for the weekend, I didn't want to do anything that would require a heavy commitment or start a new story that I'd then eventually have to drop, so I'm just farming FGO here with Vritra and as my ace. I guess that's fine. And yes, I know for the record I did say I wasn't going to do... Shame we can't do that with a Buster set with 6E. Unfortunate, yeah. I ended up having to test this setup a bit before I started the stream just to make sure it would work, but... As you can see, it does work perfectly smoothly. Still, given lotto farming is basically one of the main end game things for FGO, it does feel nice that I'm able to cleanly 3-turn it like this, with just NPs too. No RNG, no card RNG whatsoever. Sorry, I was sneezed there. Hope I muted the mic in time. I like Oberon's first Ascension outfit. Oops, I forgot to use the Master Skill. Well, I guess we'll find out if I need that. Yes, Infinity. A legally distinct Fey creature sneeze. Ooh. I'm going for an hour and a half already, dang. Gotten a good amount of farming in though, that's for sure.
さて、ここからだ。
これが本気仕方ないの。
Oberon has such sassy animations, I love it.
天よ
A nice mix of sassy and fancy.
退職があると飲まれるうちアスラシュレーした。
ありがとう。ああ、わかった。
Oh right, I was still able to clear it even without the master skill last time. Well, that's good to know. Power of a max investment in Vritra, I suppose.
宣言の鱗に閉ざされる。退職があると飲まれるうちアスラシュレーした。
悪い。
With all this grinding, maybe I should start resubbing to Final Fantasy XIV.
まだまだ未熟者ですが頑張ります。
I've played a decent amount of MMOs over the years, so I have a bit higher grind tolerance than most. Sorry. I had to clear my throat a bit for... Probably even heard it weird. What was I saying? Oh yeah. I have a bit higher grind tolerance than most since I grew up with a number of MMOs, so... This is far from the worst I've had to run into. I can unfortunately relate to. Well, if nothing else, it's nice that the skills are carrying over. I will say the grinds in mobile games usually are not quite as rewarding, but that could just be nostalgia speaking. Because having to grind for hours on a single drop was, not much better. Green MMO grinds? Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
うまいけど考えよ
これが我という魔よ。やります。
う。ちょっとかわいそうかな。
My experiences are, unfortunately, not any different.
退職があると飲まれるうちアスラシュレーした。
There we go.
僕の力じゃないさ。
本気など出さんが。集えアスラ我への肉なる魔の軍勢よ。アスラシュレーした。
僕だってやればできるさ。椅子に座ってるだけが王様じゃないとも。
大丈夫。落ち着いて。手段通り。せき止めてくれよ。むにゃむにゃ。白兵戦行きます。水のうちに準備。水のうちに準備。こ仕方ないの。
Life is an MMO.
適当に
I think there was a Star Ocean game that revealed life actually was an MMO the gods were all playing, and then they were shutting down the servers at one point. I forget which one that was. I think it was Star Ocean till the end of time. Something like that. So who knows, maybe it actually is more literal than we expected. Gotta stop grinding. Unfortunately.
うまいけど考えよう。
本当に仕方。
Still, glad I'm able to get a decent amount of grinding going tonight, while also not starting anything that I'd never be able to finish for a week or whatever. Because once I finish my hiatus and return, I'm going to... It's basically going to be time for my joint stream with my buddies for Remnant 2. I think I mentioned, but it is kind of funny that I've played... So far, I've played 3 games that have an area dedicated to Britain being taken over by fairies. I'm not sure what has been giving writers the idea of let's have Britain get taken over by fae creatures, but it's happening.
ま、適当に遊んでやるからなんじゃ、もう終わってしまうのか。今回はうまくいきました。大丈夫。落ち着いて。正規化の通り。ゴー。白兵戦、行きます。今のうちに準備。白兵戦、行きます。戦い、です。本気など出さんが。集えアスラ。我の肉なる魔の軍勢よ。アスラシュレーシター。本当に仕方ないの。ま、適当に遊んでやるからなんじゃ、もう終わってしまうのか。つまらん。
ありがとう。頑張る。どうも。
本当に仕方ないの。集えアスラ。我の肉なる魔の軍勢よ。アスラシュレーシター。ありがとうございます。皆さんのおかげです。
Looks like I've used about 20 golden apples so far. Not too bad. Oops. I'm tapping in completely the wrong places now. I will keep going until I'm tired to the point I start making major mistakes, at which point I'll probably start going to bed. But I should still be fine for a little bit.
これがワエと本気など出さんが。ま、適当に遊んでやるかな。なんじゃ、もう終わってしまうのか。つまらんつまらんつまらん。あまりそそられんの。せき止めてくれよ。ゴー！手なくで望みそうです。隠れていきます。今のうちに準備。今のうちに準備。本気など出さんが。集えアスラ、我の肉なる魔の軍勢よ。アスラシュレーシター。
Oh, thank you for the follow, Wazer Xavier. I stream just about anything on this channel, so feel free to stop by anytime something catches your eye. Oh, thank you for the follow as well, 420 Blaze. Gotcha. Gotta do that? Ah. Well, I appreciate it. I try to mix it up a bit, but don't feel obligated to come to everything. If you just want to stick to one thing or another, by all means. Try to be laid back in the general sense here, but I do like to have some good story stuff here and then. Aside from the multiplayer stream I do with some buddies in Remnant 2, I was thinking I might do another mystery VN of some kind. Alrighty, there you go.
天元の鱗に閉ざされる地が体色があるに飲まれる地アスラシュレーシタ。あまりそそられんの。石灯これがワエというマリン。ま、適当に遊んでやるかな。なんじゃ、もう終わってしまうのか。つまらんつまらんつまらん。本当に本気なの？集えアスラ、我の肉なる魔の軍勢よ。
Oh yeah, that Brave Arts chain is very cathartic to see. Even though, well, the enemies are never going to survive long enough to see the attack cards.
Huh? 本気など出さんが。ま、適当に遊んでやるかな。なんじゃ、もう終わってしまうのか。つまらんつまらんつまらん。 うまそうではないか。せき止めてくれよ。白兵戦行きます。白兵戦行きます。こ仕方ないの。集えアスラ、我の肉なる魔の軍勢よ。アスラシュレーシター。動き準備、戦いできた。
さて、ここからだ。
本気なの？集えアスラ、我の肉なる魔の軍勢よ。アスラシュレーシタ
なん僕の力じゃないさ。ああ、
これ仕方ないの。ま、適当に遊んでやるかな。なんじゃ、もう終わってしまうのか。つまらん。
僕だってやればできるさ。椅子に座ってるだけが王様じゃないとも。
まだまだ未熟者ですが、頑張ります。せき止めてくれよ。動き準備。白兵戦行きます。動き準備。こっ仕方ないの。
Bit of a misclick, but nothing that should impact everything. It doesn't really matter what order you put them in. They all have to be activated in this particular turn anyway.
もう終わってしまうのか。
Are satisfying to see Vritra go from 20 to 30%. 80. And Oberon brings her to 20.
手を考えよう。
本気な
Brings
ど
her,
出さ
brings her to 100, not 20.
ま、適当に遊んでやるかな。なんじゃ、もう終わってしまうのか。つまらん。
ありがとう。頑張ろう。どうも。
これ仕方ないの。天よ、変幻の鱗に閉ざされる天。地よ、体色があると飲まれる地。アスラシュレーシタ。
Looking a bit further. Alright, see you later, Infinity. Sorry, I must have missed that. Guess I'm getting a bit tired myself.
頑張ります。本気など出さないぞ。ま、適当に遊んでやるかな。 まうのか。つまらんつまらんつまらん。白兵戦行きます。入門に準備。
さて、ここからだ。
これがわえ仕方本気など出
Just
せない
can't be doing that without Oberon finishing it up.
天よ天元の鱗に閉ざされる地体色があるに飲まれる地アスラシュレーシタ。
なあ、僕の力じゃないさ。ああ、
本当に良い
息が引けるけどね。
天よ天元の鱗に閉ざされる地体色があるに飲まれる地アスラシュレーシタ。鐘の音が聞こえる。
Bit long.
みんなついてきて。せっかめてくれよ。みんな白兵戦行きます。水のうちに準備。やべやべ。ほんと天よ天元の鱗に閉ざされる地体色があるに飲まれる地アスラシュレーシタ。入門に準備。やだよね。
さて、ここからだ。
仕方ないの。集えアスラ我の肉なる魔の軍勢よアスラシュレーシタ。
ありがとう。頑張ろう。どう？
I'm starting to feel pretty tired, so you know what? Let's go.
仕方ないの。
Let's have a round Caliburn, buffer up one time, and I'll call the
それは
stream.
いつか来る兆しの星。誰に呼ばれるまでもなくあなたは星をかざすでしょう。アラウンドカリバーン。ま、適当に遊んでやるかな。なんじゃ、もう終わってしまうのか。つまらんつまらんつまらん。
Extra 50k damage, not bad. Alright. I'm feeling pretty tired, so I'm gonna go ahead and call the stream here. Phew. Alright. Like no one I usually rate is up right now, so I guess I'll just cut it here. Alright. Until next time, thank you for watching, hope you had a good time, and I'll see you later.